Well, hello students. This is the December 12th video cast for the 6D Plus program. And this pertains to students in Language Arts 7A. So Language Arts 7A. I thought I'd give you a little shout out and let you know what we're going to talk about this week. We're only going to talk about one specific lesson, but it has a lot of items in it that you need to be aware of. And we're going to take a look at matching tone to an audience. Now, when I go into my classroom here, and this is in the fake student, whoops, a little bit further back than what I wanted to go there. So I'm going to pull this is going to be from the teacher side of things. Notice there's no check marks here, and we're going to be
subliminal messaging, a concept where words or images flash quickly across the video.
Got a little background there going on. But notice that we're not there on here, so I'm going to pull this from the teacher side of things. And I'm going to replace this for a second. We will need to go into My Wireless Classroom, or I will show you My Wireless Classroom. And of course, I'm bringing this assignment here. So let's take a quick look at My Wireless Classroom and the importance of it. If we go into class downloads, and we've been having issues all morning here, so with items going slowly, click on the daily read and then go into previous videos. Okay, so we're going to go into previous videos. And a lot of what I'm talking about today, you're going to be able to see small videos in talking basically in regards to when we read. So we're going to talk briefly about identify the author's purpose. Here is a little video talking about how it's important when you're reading. So if you go in those reading strategy videos, it gives you an idea of how the material that we're talking about today will apply. And you'll be able to, by the titles, go and grab a few of those. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to jump on over and take a look. Main ideas, author's point of view is the areas that we're basically looking at. So let's get the items going here. And remember, students, you can listen to the assignment.
Last weekend, I visited Miami, Florida with my friend Felix.
Okay. I currently have it on pause, but you can adjust the volume there. You can also notice in the blue bar, it will speak for you, and
type your response in the box.
Also here, you can set it up. Notice the little arrow. You can set it so that you have the speech going as well. Now, we're going to be talking briefly about this. When you read people's writing or listening to them speak, can you tell how they feel about what they're saying? Include a description of some differences between listening to a speech and reading printed text. So if you have, and most TVs do already have closed caption on them, you can experiment with this, is listen to a broadcast that has the closed caption text, and you're listening to it, and then put the closed caption text on, and then mute your volume. And you'll see there is a completely different way of how we perceive the material that's being presented to us. Okay, but in many respects, it's very, very similar. So we're going to just move on to the next page here. And no, I do not want to change. Keep the current and don't ask me. Notice that's one of the things that's happening today. So as I take a pause for a sip of coffee this morning, main idea, the author's point of view has loaded up. Okay.
Main idea,
author's point of view. As you develop your reading
that this week we have pizza here, and if you've seen the visual video, you'll notice that there's a pizza in there. I kind of like this pizza, looked pretty good. But notice the main idea. If we were talking about a pizza, you have all these little details, all this little information. Okay, and what you can also do is, if you look at the pizza as an example of a main idea, think about the crust as being the main idea. Okay, and all the toppings are supporting details. And yes, it does say this down here. Okay, but let me tell you a little something. Think about it. If you look at a pizza, or you've had pizza, you have specific items that you like, right? You might like pepperoni on it, you might like mushrooms, you might like extra cheese. Maybe you don't like any of those toppings, you just like cheese, and that's it. The same thing happens when we read and when we write. There are items that we're going to love, and there are going to be items that we really don't like at all. But remember, they all make up that pizza, or they all make up our writing, or they all make up that reading that we do. So don't discount any of those small items. Okay, main idea, that's the big idea. Author's point of view, he's telling you what his view, what his approach is on the subject matter. Okay, as we go into the next one, we're going to be labeling which one of these is a main idea and what is a supporting detail. Okay, we're talking, in this case, notice here they're talking about hygiene and what you need to do. Okay. And
author's point of view, like the main idea.
Like what I said earlier, this is the way that the author's telling a story. Now, the authors tell stories in many different ways: first person, second person, or third person. It depends what the author wants you to know. If he's involved, if the author's involved in the story or the subject, it's in that first person. If he's not in the particular story and he's looking at it from another character's point of view, you can get that through the second person and the third person point of views. Okay.
It's also important to separate facts from an author's opinion.
Facts versus opinion. Remember when I talked about it earlier, and we're going to bring this up. Facts or opinions. Okay. Remember, a fact is a truth. It can be supported. An opinion is a belief. One of the items that I said previously in this video is Hillary is a crook. That's a belief. It can't be a fact because she has not been convicted of doing something that would result in her being a crook. She hasn't been in court for that. So that has to be a belief or an opinion. A fact would be something such as Mr. L is your teacher at Minnesota Virtual High School. That's a fact because I am your teacher. Okay, it can be supported with evidence. If you look at your classroom, you have Mr. L's listed as one of your teachers. So facts and opinions. You want to know a little bit more? Go back to this video. Okay, Civil War was fought from 1861 to 1865. If you've already seen that visualized video from today, I talked about the Civil War and who was the president. Whoa, making those connections. It's very important. Okay, now here's an opinion. Civil War could have been avoided. Do they have beliefs? Now, there's going to be a reason why the author's writing that. Maybe he's retelling the story. Maybe he's choosing a side and giving us information as to why his point of view is important. Okay. So the definition of an author's point of view consists of personal beliefs, opinions, and perspectives on a subject. Okay, so looking at it, okay, it's how a writer feels about a subject. He's going to use information to support his point of view. And this goes to one of my beliefs in all my classes as I teach. I often get asked, Mr. L, is my answer going to be correct? There are so many possible answers for that question, Mr. L. How can I know that mine's going to be correct? My personal belief and what I like to do is I like to see what you believe, but I am very, very much interested in how you prove it. How do you support your idea? How do you support your belief? You know, the other day I was talking with my father-in-law, and he was talking about, you know, politics and his belief that the country, the United States, is going to be worse off over the course of the next 4 years. And I said, well, how do you come up with that? And he started giving me facts and opinions, okay? But he gave me both and said, well, this is going to go on because this has been the past history of the president-elect. And he started all this information, and it's like, whoa, you know, I can't say he's wrong or right or wrong, but I can give him credit for having his beliefs supported with information, with facts, with items that have been written down. They may still be opinions, but he's supporting it. So it's very important. Author's point of view is picking up, you know, using their beliefs, but they're providing evidence, okay, or their perspective. Now, tone. You've heard tone so many different times, okay? And sometimes, you know, you might hear a parent go, well, you tone it down a little bit, you know, you think they're shouting or something. Well, tone takes on two ways or two different separate items when it comes to writing and reading. Okay, tone will give you the author's attitude. Okay, and how they do that is they will use particular words. If the author wants to sound like he's very intelligent, he's not going to use a word such as I make the cake or I made the grade. He will say something like, I produced a grade. I produced a cake. I developed a cake. Notice the difference in words there? So what happens is you start gathering an attitude, or you start understanding the author's attitude. Very important. As we look into an objective tone,
informational texts tend to use one of two types of tones.
Stop with the volume on it, so I keep on moving around there, guys. Sorry about that. There's two types of tone, objective and subjective. Okay. Objective uses only facts. It's very dry, unemotional. It's like, hello, this is the news. You know, so you don't get a real idea, is the guy for it or against it. Subjective, you know if the person's for or against it. You hear this a lot, like in sports, when you're watching sports on TV and you'll hear someone go, man, that announcer's for the other team. You ever get that when you like watch the Vikings? It's like, the dude doesn't like the Vikings. What's up? Okay, that is subjective. You know, you get this this emotion that may play into the beliefs that are occurring. Okay, you're getting subjective
tone.
their judgments or their opinions. You know, a little over a month before recording this video, the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. And some people thought, if you were a Cub fan, that the announcers were for the Cleveland Indians, and some thought it was for uh, the Chicago Cubs, if you were a Cleveland Indian fan. Okay, it was just what kind of opinions, what kind of feelings were you getting from those announcers? In any text, you're going to see this tone expressed through words. Okay, what words do they use? Okay, the details really matter. Okay, the little details matter. Now, what words does an author use? Pay attention to their words. Pay attention to their phrases. If you looked at this speech by Frederick Douglass, and here he's talking about, he says, I congratulate you also upon the very favorable circumstances in which we meet today. They are high, inspiring, and uncommon. They lend grace, glory, and significance to the object for which we have met. Okay, so he's using what we could consider positive words, inspiring words. If you look at items like grace, grace is something that's very elegant. Okay, so glory, patriotic. So you have to break down the words. It's okay to take time when you're reading to highlight or underline key words and phrases. It will help you to understand how the selection is written. Very, very important. Okay, so here we have, we're dragging the tiles. Okay, I don't like color his shirt, but I'll wear it anyways. Okay, how's that person feel? You know, a couple different items that we can use there. No, I'm not giving you the info. Okay, now
Intended audience and tone.
notice the person in the picture is reading an iPad and she's got food in front of her. What kind of book do you think she's reading? It would be a cookbook. And who would that cookbook be written for? It would be written for cooks. It wouldn't be written for someone who drove a truck unless they were at home cooking. Okay? So be aware of who this is written for. Now, she may have basic skills when it comes to cooking, or she may be a great cook. Okay? There are going to be terms in this text that she may or may not understand. So where she's going to go is a glossary, similar to what we're putting into our Language Arts 7 notebooks. You know, if there are words that you're not aware of, write them down in your glossary. This way, you can sound intelligent when you start using them all the time. Okay, and all of a sudden people say, "Ooh, he's a great cook if he knows how to, you know, talk about the julienne of carrots and peppers." Okay. Here are some questions that can help writers understand their audience. So if you're writing for a particular audience, who would you be writing for? What is their age? What is their education? If you were writing a story that you were telling me about versus a story that you would tell a friend, how would your language be different? How would your ideas be different? You ever notice how you tell, say, a parent story one way and tell your friends the story in a completely different way? Think about it next time. Okay. So let's take a look at this. What is the tone of this text? Dehydration is a serious issue. Okay, all of a sudden we have this word here, serious. When you think of serious, what do you think of? Write down the words that would come to mind. It's going to help you in understanding which of these to mark. And of these four, when you first see it, do you know what all four of these mean? That may help you to understand this selection. Okay. So if you're looking at this, okay, a person loses water through breathing, sweating, and urinating. Well, what do you know? That is a fact. So is a fact negative, sentimental, objective, or optimistic? Kind of think this is going to be objective. Ta-da! And we get a few more opportunities for questions because it wants to see how well we understand matching our audience. Now, here is a selection called Design Out of a Paper Bag. And so you're going to be reading. And notice you have some guidelines about reading complex text. Whenever you have these, use these. They're there to help you. They're not there just to slow you down because they're actually going to help you understand the material, which in essence helps you speed it up. Okay. Number the paragraphs. Okay. Here's a reading strategy, and I'm actually going to save this page. Okay. Number the paragraphs. Why is that important? If you're taking notes, what you want to do by numbering the paragraphs, you can put your notes on a page and say P1, so you know it's in paragraph 1, and you can talk about what it is. Okay, so I would read through this. This is very good. A lot of times if you can take a text and you can print it out, and then you can write, notice this example that they're using here. They're getting all the information out. Very important. Okay, what strategies do you use when you read difficult text? Think about this. Have you ever listened to the text? That would be a good strategy to think about using. Read it and following it. Okay. Now, when you read look for the main idea. Whoa, wait a second. Oh, Nelly. Main idea? Whew. Here's one talking about the main idea. That's a video talking about the main idea. You got to be aware of it. Author's point of view and tone. Let's take a look at this again. Whoops. Author's point of view and tone. Okay. Author's purpose and main ideas. Okay, and you've been talking about the tone already, so. Okay. Record your observations about these elements as you see them. Okay, now here's the design out of a paper bag. Read this story, and then once you have completed it, you'll have these questions to talk about. Okay. And you have a couple different questions. Okay. Main idea and audience.
In the next activity, we will examine the main idea and audience for design out of a paper bag.
And it's not all these come to Mr. L. Okay, but use these as practice. And when you do them, so I'm just gonna put a little thing just to get it to hit submit. It It's going to tell you about the main idea. This is going to give you a suggested answer or a sample answer is what they're using it here. Okay. Utilize them. Write those down. It will help you understand the material. Okay. Here, the objective tone for most of the essay because you have facts and opinions, but towards the end, okay, he tells us about Margaret E. Knight, okay, and he talks about her curiosity and intellect. Okay, now all of a sudden, what we have, a point of view. He's talking about it from a specific perspective. Okay. Then towards the end of the selection, okay,
Analysis.
you get a recap of what's going on. Okay. He wants his audience, he's got a specific audience that he's talking to. And if you look at it and use background knowledge, you could figure it out. A lot of times as 7th graders, and even as high schoolers, you don't have all the background knowledge. And you'll pick that up through experience. So if you do not understand something because of that lack of background knowledge, that's okay. Just chalk it up, make a note of it for next time. Or ask a teacher, ask an adult, ask a family member. They may be able to help you. Okay. And here we have a recap. What's one of the
major themes
they're trying to, come across with. Oops. Okay. And a lot of the answer, the author is writing to show us his belief, and he's going to give us an answer why his belief or her belief is better than all others. Okay. Now you have an opportunity to take a look at writing. We'll do this towards the end. You've noticed this all semester long in your class. Okay, whenever you're going through the tutorials. Okay, you're going to have an opportunity to rewrite these sentences. And then last but not least, before I go into that, I want to show you something very, very quickly. Notice this first one here. The universe is made up of 10,000 or of thousands, millions of galaxies, and each of them has numerous numbers of stars in them. More than likely, you're going to take this word "and" out and put in a period. Okay. And people will say, well, that's a way to rewrite the sentence. That's not what I want you to do, because this, if you did it this way, this is going to tell you about the quality of reading that you do. When you read, if you have difficulties, it's typically because we have longer sentences. And this is what they call lexile. Lexile is a way to measure how much students read. Okay. If you have a lower lexile, what you're doing is reading books with smaller sentences. So if you're asked, why do I have to read these books and they got these long sentences? It's a higher lexile, and it's a belief that you have a higher or better understanding. Now, there's no difference in the sentences if it had a period there or not have a period there. But I want you to think about this. Period or no period, you're still going to go through if you were having to learn this information, and you were going to make up notes. Galaxies there's thousands of millions of them in the universe. Each galaxy has an innumerous or too many stars to count. Doesn't matter if the sentence is like this or with the period and having 2 sentences for number 1. You still got the same information. So anytime you read, break your sentences down, even if it's 2 small ones, because you're going to start experiencing long sentences just like what we have here. And you still have to understand them, and you can use that same strategy. It's going to help you become a better reader. Okay? And last but not least, we always summarize at the end of the tutorial or video and then go into the end. And then once you have completed that, you will go ahead and have a mastery test. Now, once again, what my suggestion is go into the mastery test, and as you go through each one, write down the question it's asking you, because 2 things are going to go on. Number 1, you're going to be asked those questions, or at least 2 of those questions, in a post-unit test. So at the end of the unit, if you have a test, you're going to be seeing those questions already. So that's an easy way to prepare for it. The other issue that you want to be aware of is if you don't understand something, you can go back into the tutorial, read it, find the answer or see if the answer is present, and go from there. If you still don't get it, Mr. L, I'm having a problem. I don't get this question. I think I'm getting this wrong when I'm taking the test. Fantastic that you contact me, okay? Because this tells me a couple things. One, that you care about what you're learning and you want to learn it correctly. So I would suggest that that's always a possibility to do, but you don't know it unless you have it written down. So I suggest keep a notebook, write it down, or put it in your digital notebook and take it from there. Okay, so just a couple strategies to be aware of when you go in and taking a look. Matching tone to an audience is this week's item. Remember, it could be objective or subjective, and depending on the attitude and the type of words that are used. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, because in the end, it's easier to work smarter than work harder. Until next time, look forward to talking to you then. Have a great day.